Okay, I am going to call to order the special meeting of the PRCAC for May 15th, 2023 at 7 p.m. The one and only agenda item is discussion of the location for the internet Wi-Fi trailer for Would-Be Tell. I'm gonna start in the room. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to bring forward to Would-Be Tell or discussion? State your name for the record, please.
State my address too.
Nope, just your name.
Laura Swan. I guess I'm sort of the one that threw a red flag up, and I'm sorry, Martha, it was just, and as we spoke, I just didn't think the Lighthouse Park was the best suited for this, and what I did do is I just have to figure out how to share my screen.
No, I have to let you.
Oh, you have to do that? Okay.
Go ahead. You should be able to, yeah.
Do I have to hit something on here, or is it on there? Do I need to hit something on here?
Mm-hmm. You have to hit your screen at the bottom.
I don't have a.
Go back to the meeting.
Oh,
Share screen, unmute yourself. And hit start video. And I gotta mute myself. There you go.
There we go. So maybe what, Marvin, the first thing you can answer me is, what is the actual name of the unit? We've given it a lot of different names.
We don't have a name for it. It's the grant requirement is that we provide a community center for technology for 2 years inside the grant area. So we call it Louise if you want. It doesn't have a name. No.
Okay, I called it a mobile. I called it a mobile hotspot workstation.
We've been calling it the community center trailer. So
These guys have to mute. You know what I might be able to, if I moved mute, I could probably speak right into this. Sorry, you guys, we're just getting feedback.
Okay, now.
Do you want me to go stand out in the hallway?
Can you hear her now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So I spoke with Martha about, about if it needed to be in that area. And I'm just gonna show you some reasons that it might not be the best suited location for it. Let's see here. Is right now, where the star is to the arrow, that is where the plan is, where we'll go in Lighthouse Park. And some of the reasons where I don't think it's best suited there. Let's see here. It lacks security, and I understand it will have a remote access. Is that correct?
that is correct.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Plus cameras.
Okay, so we have no security down there, and it lacks the necessary lighting. Any additional lighting down there is going to be challenged by the community because of the light initiative that we've been trying to drive forward here. Adding
course.
Pardon me?
I said, of course, no, that's why we're working with the Parks Department. No changes to the park.
So it'll still be, then it'll be quite, well, no changes. Does that mean that there's going to be lights on the unit?
As we understand, and Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, it's only daylight hours that
Yes,
it's
correct.
available to be open.
So it's gonna
Yes.
be total darkness at night with no security. Even though you have remote access and you have security cameras.
We will have, yeah, we will have internal and external cameras. And again, yeah, the park's request was that it was park hours only, essentially.
Okay, so in the evening, if someone breaks in, who's going to contact somebody and who would they be contacting?
Whidbey Telecom owns a security company. It'll be fully alarmed with Whidbey Telecom security.
So do you have a person on site here on the point that would be immediately?
It's just like anybody else who has a break-in on the point. We contact,
We call 911.
and we will too.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking, is that you would be, you would be contacting the sheriff.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be monitored security, just like all of the other properties that Whidbey Telecom Security and Alarms Company monitors.
Do you monitor other ones in Point Roberts?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. During high season, parking is already at full capacity. And we can't handle having all these cars down there that people might just be sitting in there, surfing the net, watching movies. It'll just, cause I don't go down in the afternoons now in the summer because there's no parking for me and my dog. So I go to a different location. On the weekend, I went down and I canvassed some campers and asked them if they really wanted Wi-Fi down there. Were they really missing it? Nobody was missing it. Nobody minded walking where I'm going to show you next, but another location, no one had a problem walking there. And the majority of Canadians, campers, and the majority of campers are Canadians, all have full coverage already. We all bounce off at Tsawwassen and we bounce off the Jack 6 Tower. So we're already fully covered down there. Lighthouse Marine Park, and you guys may not be aware of this, we're number one on the West Coast Whale Trail. And this trail goes all the way down to California. And I know that when I lived on Saturno, we were Whale Trail number 2. And I am involved in the chamber now, and I want to get more tourism working around the Whale Trail, because you can go down to our area down there and watch the whales. And we've been doing it 3 or 4 times in the last couple of weeks. And that's the thing, is I think we want people going to Lighthouse Park to enjoy the marine life, swimming, windsurfing, but not internet surfing. I think it's and most importantly, the location adds no economic gain to the sustainability of Point Roberts, that we can see it. So I drove the whole area and looked for a better location. And I did find one that I think may be more suitable. And it is at the southwest corner of the marina, where the Friday market is held. There's also other events held there, but these are the reasons why this location, I believe, would be better suited for the Point Roberts community and helping us economically. It's highly visible. There's no brush, there's nothing, it's out in the wide open. It's central for community access. You drive right down Tyee and you're right there. Pretty much going camping, you're gonna pass it. Going to the marina, you're gonna pass it. But there's also boaters coming in that they would be able to use it. We'd be able to have Wi-Fi for our community events that we have down there. Vendors would be able to use their point of sale, which is a real stopper right now when you're trying to sell something and people don't have cash on them. Especially Canadians. music, there's a couple performers that need Wi-Fi to do live performances, and they'd like to be able to do live performances. They can't do that without the Wi-Fi. It's along the sheriff community route. It's along everybody's route pretty much. That if there's any shenanigans going on, someone's probably gonna see it when they're going by and they can call. They don't have to wait for an alarm to go off to tell us that there's something wrong. It's a highly used community transportation route. It's a corridor. It's one of the main ones. It would be close to the marina to generate revenue and help the economy with the boaters. I know myself as a boater, I only go in if I can get supplies, I can get Wi-Fi. And I believe, Martha, you said the same thing. You couldn't do a ride cam when you got to our marina because there was no Wi-Fi coverage. But there is a lot of transient boats that come to visit Point Roberts, and this would be just more help as they're walking up to this general store to stock up their boat. They could stop in and do their internet if they had to as well. It's right off the bike path. We have one bike path that goes across along APA, and it's right there. They would not be on the road. So for the bicyclists and the walkers, it's easy access for them. And I got the owner's approval. And a contract would have to be written up and specify the what happens in 2 years and all of that. It would have to be covered, but he is more than welcome, more than happy to help us build the community back. Because our marina was down to like 20 boats when I first moved here. And we got to get it full again, the way it used to be. And most important is I talked to the grant provider, who did say, yes, he does not have a problem with this being moved because, see, it's just a second, I have to go back. Because if you can see the star and the light blue zone, because that was the one thing, is that it was supposed to remain in the grant area. But he said, if it was close, and I showed him, he said, absolutely. Because he said we'd already been willing to go to the community center, but he said this is even closer. So
and who did you talk to at USDA?
Talked to the gentleman.
Picture.
I have his name at home. I apologize. It was the gentleman, not the one that you're dealing with. It was his boss. I just called in, asked the question. They transferred me to him. If I heard his name, I would say, yes, that's it. And he said, there's another gentleman that is handling, but he was the
Yes, so we need that information because we have escalated this over the course of the last year and a half. And the USDA has always come back and said, not just no.
No, well, they told me that they'd already given approval to move it to the community center.
No.
Okay, the gentleman I spoke with did tell me that, yes, that he had already given that approval.
Unfortunately, he's misinformed. So that's why I need the contact information.
Okay,
We will definitely escalate that tomorrow.
Okay, because no, the woman said the gentleman in charge is right here. And he said, I'm in charge of this, but it's another gentleman. I have their names written down. I just could not find the piece of paper.
Because, Laura, as I talked to you last month,
yes,
we're in violent agreement. Our gating factor here was the USDA would not let us do anything outside of our grant boundary. And it was an absolute hard no. And my challenge to you was, yeah, find us another park inside the light blue area. We're happy to move.
Well, he said that he had already given approval for it to go to the community center.
But also, this is not a permanent structure. So
I know it's not, no, I
yeah,
know,
unfortunately.
But they did say it could go to the community center, correct?
We were told by the head of the broadband piece of USDA that it had to be inside the grant boundary area as awarded. Full stop.
Okay, because some people in Point Roberts, and maybe that's the, because we have not had a discussion about it, that there's some people here that were aware and told me that they had tried to move it to the community center, but there was
Mhm.
not enough parking there. And it didn't make sense to put it there. Not that they couldn't, just that it didn't make sense.
USDA rules for this particular grant are that it has to be inside the granting boundary. So if you have information that's different from that and you have a name of a person for us to call up, I can't see her, but I bet Michelle's head is turning on her little neck right now because she has been
Absolutely.
fighting this battle for Point Roberts for over a year. And any of you who have worked with federal authorities, you know that
I have, that's the thing, that's why I just thought it doesn't hurt
exactly,
to ask
trust
them.
me. I'm sure it's the same person we talked to a year and a half ago, and maybe they have seen the light. I don't know. I'm not going to question. All I can do is say, we're happy to talk to exactly the same people that you talk to. And this proposal, and this is still a proposal, is going in front of the parks. Michelle, is it this week or next week?
It's this week.
It's
This
this week.
week. And it's,
That's-
and that's what that meeting is for. It is for open comment, as I understand, from the Parks Bureau. So this is still just a proposal. So
It's not really if you are only going to the parks. If you were going to the county, it would be different, but you're going to parks and
oh,
already, and you are presenting it to go to the park, correct?
we would love to have, and that's why we came to the PRCAC. Here's the location we found. Give us another location idea, but USDA says it has to be inside that blue boundary. So
Okay,
So
if
I
that's
think,
no longer the condition, then that's news to us. And we're
Okay.
more than happy to call USDA tomorrow and say, hey, if that's the new condition, all bets are off. We can do something completely different.
so the one thing I think, when they do make a presentation to the Parks Committee, it's a proposal. It then still has to clear council, executive and stuff.
Absolutely.
But all
Absolutely.
we're asking- But well, as we
Yeah.
were saying, but what we're asking, Martha, is that you hold off. Let us get our information, let us talk to the community, and then go talk to the county, if that's the most suited location. But we've already showed you, and if this gentleman, I will call tomorrow, I will get his name and number for you.
Thank you.
But I'm asking that you hold off with the county parks. Because you're presenting something to them that we might not want. And it's great for the county, but it's gonna disrupt our community. And we want what's best to enhance the economical situation in Point Roberts.
My understanding is that the meeting on the 18th, on Thursday, in front of the Parks and Recreation was supposed to include members of Point Roberts to have these actual discussions. So that would be the time to join that meeting to say, you know, these are our concerns. And obviously, if we have a new piece of information regarding a potential location, and we get, you know, we need to do our due diligence to research that and find out, that may put the whole whether it needs to be, I mean, that does open up the options. The only thing that we're moving, I mean, right now, we are at a point of just trying to figure out if, you know, Parks and Recreation, when we approached them, they were excited about it for a number of reasons, but they still have to go through their process. So it's all still up in the air.
So I'm
And
asking,
again,
I'm just
with this,
asking,
So Michelle, I have a question for you.
sure.
Would it hurt to ask the Parks Commission to listen to your proposal at their June 15th meeting, which is here in Point Roberts at Lighthouse Park?
that's perfect.
I think that would be perfectly fine. I mean, I can reach out to Bennett and say, the community has asked that we delay this so that we can have the conversation in their community,
The only reason I'm saying this is because, one, it would give you time to possibly look into what Laura is talking about. But not only that, it's with Bennett Knox, it's with the commission, in the location we're talking about, in our community, with our community. So that way everyone can participate, they can feel heard, and they can see exactly where you're talking about, eyes on site, rather than trying to use a map.
And
Wouldn't have a problem with that. We just need to talk to the parks folks and see if it fits into their agenda. We're working to their agenda, so that's why we're scheduled for this meeting. So yeah, no problem with us asking to be moved to a different agenda.
Well, I just, I thought that might actually benefit the Parks Commission themselves as well, to have a discussion about someone going in Lighthouse Park while they're at Lighthouse Park.
Oh,
and
yeah, okay, yeah, that's actually a good idea, since that's where you'll be meeting. Yeah, I think, we,
This spot right here, not being like, oh, look at this map, and try and kind of figure it out in your mind's eye where it's going. You can actually be like,
Right,
we're talking
right.
about these spots right here, and then everybody can see, and it's not anybody making assumptions.
That makes perfect sense to us.
absolutely. And just as an FYI, I mean, I think we were moving it along at the pace we were with the idea of being able to set up in June, but we have other considerations that are pushing that timeline back anyway. So it's not going to be disruptive to us to have that pushed from this month's meeting to next month's meeting.
Good.
So is that also in June?
The meeting in June, I'm actually on the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting website, is June 15th, 2023, 6 p.m. Location, Lighthouse Marine Park, 811 Marine Drive, Point Roberts.
Great. We'll talk to them this week too and see if we can get the move to another agenda.
I really appreciate that. That's fabulous, you guys.
Yeah, no problem. We're
And I will
here
get
to
that
work with
moving.
community. This is our,
I will,
I can see everybody.
I will even. How do I quit sharing it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can, just gonna have you stop sharing your
It
screen.
says pause share is not the same. Stop share, there it is. There.
Perfect, now I can see everybody. Does anyone else, I have no one else in the room, online, have any questions, concerns, anything that, as far as the request to, have this meeting with the Parks Committee,
Surprising.
here in Point Roberts at Marine Park, and just, I understand Martha's point and Michelle's point, you try and get in with these government groups as quickly as you can, because as we know, government never moves quickly. I just think that would be great to actually have a meeting about Lighthouse Park and Lighthouse Park.
Absolutely.
well, and who knows, maybe by the time we get to there, Laura will have greased the skids with our friends at the USDA, and maybe we can get them to change their mind, which would
There
be,
you go, exactly. That would be
Yeah.
great.
that's just,
I-
like I
I
said,
just
new
want-
information. It's always important to get the most recent information, and that's great. We will
And
move
I just
forward
want
from
to
there.
I just want what's best for the community, that's all. And how it enhances us all.
It's a shared goal.
Perfect.
We've been there for 35 years. We're in this together.
I have a question.
Lee?
I'm just a resident, but I don't recall, I must have missed the Parks meeting where this came up, but does the Parks Department have all the information of the fact that a would-be TEL is using public property for this, and what are the zoning laws and some of those details? Do they have that information?
Yes, we've had several conversations with Bennett.
But Bennett's not part of the
Lee.
Parks Department, is he?
Parks.
Yes, he is the director of the Whatcom County Parks and Recreation.
Okay,
Lighthouse Park is Whatcom County.
There might be
Park.
some
It's not
confusion
ours.
between.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, Mark.
let's not confuse Roberts Park and Recreation where Bennett Blaustein was prominent. If Lee, if you're thinking of that Bennett, we're talking here about County Park and Recreation Department in the county, and Bennett Knox is the director of that department.
Yes,
Different,
that's who we've been
Thank
talking
Bennett.
to.
thank you.
good question, Lee. Yep.
Bob?
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
So my first reaction is I've never heard so much nonsense in my life. I earned the right to say that. The Canadians didn't ask for permission to cover Lighthouse Park with cellular, period. They didn't talk to anybody. They don't have to talk to anybody, just like PointNet doesn't have to talk to anybody. I have no objection at all. PointNet has no objection at all to seeing Whidbey Telecom have a presence in the park. But using yesterday's technology, taking up a parking space and creating a mini squatters location in limited parking spots just doesn't seem like a state of the technology solution to me. It's nonsense. How many people can be served? If 500 people show up in the park for some gorgeous wedding celebration on the most beautiful day this summer or next summer or the summer after, how many people will the Whidbey Telecom service in that on that day? What's the capacity? What's the speed? It's nonsense. And more to the point is that there is no park property required to provide the service. Why are we talking about parks? It's nonsense. I don't want to talk to the park. I don't want any of their property, and I certainly don't want to do anything to destroy the image of the park. In a perfect world, I'd like to see us buy an old lighthouse from Puget Sound somewhere and move it to the spot and create a great destination for the Canadians who want to spend a couple of hours on a summer day, or the campers, whatever. That's my vision of the park. I don't want to see it cluttered up with my telecom technology or anybody else's. It's nonsense. The technology today allows you to do that wirelessly from off the property. That's the solution. And if Whidbey can't figure it out, come to us. We'll sell it to you wholesale. You can offer it to your customers and mark it up. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else for cash?
I don't have any comment.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have to say, I agree with Bob, as do many residents here. We don't want to see technology in our parks that are about nature.
Okay, well, so I think, Martha, the plan is you're gonna touch base with Laura to get that information, and yourself and Michelle are going to just check with the Bennett Knox to see if, it's possible to move your presentation, or if it still is going to continue with that presentation, depending on what happens, to the June meeting that will be at Lighthouse Park. Do I have that right?
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Correct. Mhm.
Sounds like a good plan to me. Does anyone have anything else? No?
I move to adjourn.
Seeing none, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn, and I wanna thank everyone for coming out and being part of this community. I wanna thank Whidbey Tel for coming. I wanna thank Bob for coming. You know, anything we can do that's good for the community, we are here for it, and we're here to listen.
Well,
So-
thank you for the invitation, and we are proud to be your partner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Bye-bye.
Good night.
Aye.